Welcome back to NY Flight Jets Talk. This is a record for me so far. Most shows in a day. Show number 3 on the day. If you missed the earlier shows, 8 a.m. Eastern Time, we were joined by the great Wesley Walker, Jets legend, and then 2 o'clock it was. I was joined by Michael Nania. So when you're done watching this, go ahead and check those out, as those were great interviews with great guys. Love talking ball with them. Wesley, obviously former player, and then Michael Nania of Jet X Factor. Wesley, it was really blast to talk ball with him. We talked all things his career. We also talked some current Jets with Wesley. And then Michael Nania, we talked about how we can upgrade this team and how this team can really take the next step and really compete for a title. If you guys didn't see, I pinned the call-in link in the chat. If you guys want to call into the show, submit your question for me to respond to. And title of this show is we're going to talk about the off-season moves that might be made with this team. Let's get right into it. So, there have been some problems negotiating with Mike Evans and the Bucks. I definitely think Mike Evans, personally, can end up with this team. I don't want to say will end up because I can't guarantee anything, but I mean, I think they would be an amazing duo. I think he would be a great compliment to Garrett Wilson. Great duo. Thank you, NY Jets super fan. Awesome interviews. Thank you. I really appreciate it, guys. Just let me know if you guys want any specific guests. You guys have my Twitter, and then my Instagram is NY Flight. Just DM me and let me know the guests you want, and I'll be sure to try to contact them, because I really want to get guys that you really want to see on the show and really want to hear from. And you guys can even type them in the chat right now, and I'll keep note of them. Like, I think we need, whether it's Mike Evans, Courtland Sutton, or Calvin Ridley or anyone. Like, I don't know if Courtland Sutton can fill a wide receiver 2 hole. I think Mike Evans, though, personally, is the best realistic option for this team. Personally, like, T. Higgins isn't hitting the open market. We just have to realize that. I mean, look at him in a Jets jersey. I looks like Jermaine Johnson switched. Did he? Jermaine Johnson was 11, I believe, this year. I don't know. I don't do the number drama, but I think he looks sick in a Jets jersey, and I think it's realistic. As of now, things can definitely change. We are only in February, so things can, like, who knows? Maybe he agrees to a deal. The second free agent agrees to, they don't tag him or whatever, and then he agrees to a deal 4 seconds into free agency, right when free agency opens with the Bucks. It's very unpredictable. As of now, I think that it's pretty realistic. But staying with the free agent topic with wide receiver, I don't think, since with the realistic stuff, don't think T. Higgins realistic as we think. He's getting tagged, probably, most likely, I think they said. I think that they said most likely the Bengals. Yeah, I saw a tweet about that the other day, about them tagging him. I think he'll get tagged. I mean, he's a great wide receiver. They're probably just going to tag him so they get one more year to see how he really does, and then negotiate with him after that. Staying on the offensive side of the ball with free agency, though, someone I think the Jets should not target, but I think are definitely gonna target, unfortunately, is David Bakhtiari. I don't see him, with the injuries, being able to pass a physical, but if he could pass a physical, honestly, and he'll agree to a vet minimum or like a really cheap deal, I'd do it. I just don't want to overpay for him. And I don't think he's going to play on this MetLife turf. I really don't think he's going to want to play on this MetLife turf. The injuries are really what scare me most. The injuries, I just don't think he can pass a physical. This is his injury history as of late. I don't think he can pass a physical. Really don't. I think if we can get him for real cheap, maybe take him. I think he's a low end starter. I don't even want him starting, honestly. Really don't want him starting. I'd rather go out and spend money on like a big name tackle, like a Tyron Smith type of guy, so to speak. I think he would be great for this team. I think Tyron Smith would look great in the system, and obviously you could put a younger guy on the other side. I think Bakhtiari, unfortunately, to the Jets is gonna happen. I don't want it to happen though. The injuries, it's injuries, and he's old. Injuries and age. That's what kind of scares me. Wild Wave. I see us getting outbid when it comes to wide receiver. I see us mainly getting offensive line and someone like Curtis Samuel. Yeah, I think someone of that Curtis Samuel nature is someone to keep your eye on. I think like the Curtis Samuel, Cortland Sutton kind of range is the most realistic. Maybe like a Calvin Ridley type of guy. I don't see us like I think Evans is realistic, but we're gonna have to free up a lot of cap room. I think you'll see it with some restructures, like Nania said earlier today. I think you'll see it with some restructures. But we don't have a ton of cap. I don't know how much we have off the top of our head, but we do not have a lot of cap room. So we're gonna need to free up some cap room before we do anything. This would fix a lot. How much money does he? Are you talking about Mike Evans? And White Jet Superfan, I'll get back to you when you type in the chat who you were talking about. And then you mentioned Bakhtiari here. Vet minimum, I would do it. Supposedly they figured out what was wrong with his knee. Yeah, vet minimum though, I would 100%. If it was a vet minimum, I'd sign me up. I just don't want to overpay for this dude. His knee, I don't know if they found out what was wrong with it, but he has a bad knee. Period. Whatever it is. Wild Wave again. I do love Bakhtiari leadership for AVT and Tim, and yeah, I mean, he does have leadership. I can guarantee you that for sure. But again, I'm not gonna overpay for him. If we're getting him on a vet minimum, cool. Sign me up vet minimum right now. But I'm not gonna go out and overpay for this guy. I don't think he's capable of starting in this league personally, or with this team at least. The age and the knee injury, that's what scares me. But again, like I said, if we could just go out and get like I know it's harder than it sounds, but would you Wild Wave said, I mean, NY Jet Superfan talking about Evans. Evans is looking for it's 4 years. Yeah, I remember this. Boy Green put an article about it on heavy.com, I believe. It was 4 years, $95 million. No, it was 4 or 5 years, $95 million. The average salary was $23.5 million a year. I remember that, which is a lot of money. But his contract will match up with Garrett Wilson. Like Garrett Wilson will like his the paydays will match up by like a year or two off. I think he's a star though. If you can go ahead and bring in a star, not just a wide receiver, a star. We need yes, we do need help on other sides, like other aspects of the game. But at the end of the day, you do need an incredible offensive line. Not incredible, an average offensive line actually for this team. But if you can get like a playmaker in Mike Evans, oh my god. Put him next to Garrett Wilson, oh my god. This team is on a different cylinder after you pair Garrett Wilson with someone somewhat competent. And why just Superman? Ouch, yeah. It is a lot of money, but at the end of the day, he's gonna make plays for us. I'd rather, from a financial standpoint, it's not a good move, so to speak. From a good financial move would entail bringing Cortland Sutton in on his 2-year, $14 million deal. Cortland Sutton is okay receiver, but is he really going to make plays like Evans? Like at the end of the day, just pull the plug. just trade up for Harrison or Neighbors. I really, really don't see us trading up. Who was I talking to? It was Fireman Ed yesterday, and we just can't see him trade up. We can't see him trading up. What I can agree with you on the Harrison. Our boy Allen, I love Allen, but he's been saying trade up for Joe Alt. If you're gonna trade up for Joe Alt, you might as well just go up the extra picks more and get Harrison. I think the drop off between Harrison and Alt is major for the picks you'd slide up. I'd 100%. I wouldn't trade up for them, but if we were to trade up, I'd trade up to Marvin Harrison's spot and get him. I just can't see us we don't have the second round pick. We'd have to probably give him next year's second. I don't want to trade up. I'd rather just stay where we are, secure maybe an Olu Fashanu, Tylise Flaga type of guy who can kind of just come in, or we just even trade back and bring in maybe an Amarius Mims or Tyler Guyton. Don't see us trading up at all. I think it's very, very unlikely. While NY Jet Superfan agrees with Wild Wave for backyard. With the leadership, are you talking about? Evans is only worth 2 years. He's getting up there, and we need to sign Garrett Wilson soon to a big contract. I agree. Yeah, Wild Wave, the timeline matches up for both of them. Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. The timeline does match up for when they need to get paid. But Evans is not only 2 years personally. Like, he is old, but he's still producing numbers. At the end of the day, he's still going out there and producing numbers at a high rate. His age, he might be old, but he is producing numbers at the end of the day. If you look at his stats, let's see his stats from this year. Let's see. Wait, no. Okay. Taking so long to pull up, but in the meantime, as they pull up, I don't think he's only worth 2 years. I think he can be solid for 4 or 5 years. I think 2 years. I just don't see. All right. So 2023. Okay. 79 receptions, 1,255 yards, 13 touchdowns. That was in the regular season. Postseason, 11 receptions. He had 136 targets in the regular season. Postseason, he had 11 receptions, 19 targets, 195 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, he's still getting over 1,000 yards a year, which is still pretty. I think he's 34, I believe. Let me just check that. 30. Oh, wow. I thought he was way older than he was. 30 years old. Yeah, you're getting way more than 2 years out of him. NY Jet Superfan is saying they drop off hard after 30 years old. I mean, how much of a drop off can he have from an 1,255 yard season? What, he gets 800 yards next year? He gets 800 yards with the Jets. I wouldn't be thrilled because we put him on a huge. I think he's still an 1,000-yard guy at the end of the day, if you really think about it. The numbers he's been producing year in and year out, I think he's going to continue to put up these numbers until I feel like eventually he'll have one poor year where it's just he's just down from there, and then it's kind of the end of end of his career. That's what happens to a lot of players in the league, and it's called the NFL. Fireman Ed had a great phrase on the show yesterday. NFL stands for not for long, and I really liked it. I thought it was very funny and very, very true also. NY Jets Superfan. What I'm trying to say, Connor, is the Jets would only sign a wide receiver for 2 years because at that point Garrett Wilson would want $30 million a year. Oh, I understand what you're saying now. Wow, NY Jets Superfan. I understand that. So only sign a wide receiver for 2 years. So you'd probably want to go in that. I'm just guessing. You probably want to go in like the Courtland Sutton, Tyler Boyd, Calvin Ridley direction. Let me know if I was right or wrong in the chat. I'm guessing you'd probably want to go Courtland Sutton just because of the years, and obviously he's on that 2-year, $14 million deal, which is a very favorable contract. Yeah, you said yes. Yeah, a lot of people want to go for those guys. They're not bad options, but they're just not like the big name guys, and that's okay. They don't have to be like the big name. Like they're good. They're good. They're good people to good players to target. They're just not like like the drop off. I feel like between Cortland Sutton and Mike Evans is like. And my just super fan again. I'd take Evans for 2, maybe 3 years, but not more than 3. Yeah, I agree. After really with the age and stuff, I'm gonna drop down. I'm not gonna say we shouldn't target him, but I can agree with you when it comes to not wanting him for the full 5 years. Personally, I would not. I don't really want him for 5 years. I think he would be a solid player to target. Just don't want him for that full 5 years, as I think he'd not struggle, but I don't think he'd be worth all that money to come and play 5 years, a 5 year $95 million deal or whatever it is. I mean, come on. He's not with the age. He's not worth that. Let's say he was 28. It's a whole different story. But right now, he's just not worth it. Guys, pin comment in the chat if you'd like to call into the show. Love to hear your opinion. If you're watching on Twitter/X, I don't even know what to call it. I'll put it in the chat right now so you can click the link. Because I don't think it pins on Twitter, and it doesn't stay in the chat. So I just put it in the chat for those watching on Twitter. But Evans, I now agree kind of with NY Jet Superfan. Wouldn't really want to commit to him for all the full 3 with the 5 years. I could do 3, just not the 3. What would the 3 years contract look like? Let's see. 3 year, it would be around $46 million a year with the money he wants. Would you do a 2-year, $46 million deal for Mike Evans? I know he never do 2 years, but would you ever do that, NY Jet Superfan? You would never drop it down to 2 years, but let's say he just like, I'll do 2 years if I could come play with Aaron Rodgers. There's a chance that happens. That's the type of quarterback that you have in Aaron Rodgers. Players are going to want to come here because of Aaron. And let's say that happens with the Jets and Mike Evans, and we can lower that down to 2 years and bring him in on a $46 million deal. In hindsight, that's $2 million more than we paid Allen Lazard, but for 2 less years, so to speak. I would do 2-year $46 million though in a heartbeat. Wild Wave. The Chargers pick is for sale. I expect Joe Douglas to be aggressive if there's a player he likes. Two guys that if we were to trade up, I'd watch. Odunze and Alt. I still find it unlikely that we trade up, but Odunze and Alt are probably my top 2. Odunze is just a freak. What is he, 6'4" or something? 6'3"? I think he's 6'3". Let's see. I think he's 6'3". But that guy can play. Yeah, he's 6'3". But oh my god. Star wide receiver out of Washington it is. Wide receiver 1 for Penix. Obviously, that team went to the national championship this year. Did lose to Michigan. Both teams. I think Michigan. Well, staying with going back to Washington, Jalen Polk is also a guy to target in the later rounds. And then going to Michigan, there's a ton of players on Michigan I like. I mean, there's still rumors the Jets are going to target J.J. McCarthy. I find it very unlikely, as I think there's like very slim chances getting in the 3rd round. But then you look at their positions of need, kind of. At guard, you have Trevor Keegan, Zach Zinter. Wide receiver, you have Roman Wilson. And running back, you have Blake Corum, and all those guys are coming out of this draft class. I think those are some guys the Jets are 100% going to target on like day 3 of this draft. And I think I don't know if what's his name, Blake Corum. We'd bring Blake Corum in just because we don't really need another young running back. We need a veteran running back, not another young guy. We have another young guy in Izzy Abandokonda, and that's why we're kind of looking towards a veteran guy. I see Blake Corum a little unlikely. I favor more of like the Carson Steele possibility in like the 7th round, 6th, 7th round. We're kind of just swinging at like players, but if JD really likes Quorum, I think he'll make a move on him. The Jets draft is so unpredictable. We literally drafted Roger Vick in the first round, a fullback. So in 1987, 21st overall pick, we select Roger Vick. It's so unpredictable. You can never predict what happens. Wave coming back in. I don't see us trading up for a left tackle. It's for a playmaker. Yeah, I agree with you on that one. If we were to trade up, we'd probably go after like a Neighbors Odunze Harrison if he's still there. I don't know. My top three receivers, probably from 3 to 1, are Neighbors Odunze Harrison. I think those guys are all very solid. I think there are a lot of position by position. I think this is a very, very overall, just talented draft class overall, period. Yeah, Wild Wave, you don't give up the kind of resources to move from 10 to 5 for a left tackle. Well, it's unlikely, but we've seen Joe Douglas do some really crazy things. So let's say he looks at Joe Walt and he looks at him as generational and is like, oh my God, this guy's going to start for next 15 years. He's going to be our next DeBrickshaw, next Mangold, whatever. And we're like, okay, he's worth trading up. And he comes in and he dominates. I look at him, though, and I just see, excuse me. I look at him and I see Joe Thomas. I can compare their games to each other. I think they're very similar. I think Olaf Fashanu is more of a project. Wild Wave mentioned that in my chat a couple weeks ago, and then I watched more film on him, and I can kind of agree. Fuaga, I feel like still is the most reasonable pick. Him and Fashanu were the most reasonable guys to be in Jet uniforms. Unless Odunze falls to us and we just pull the plug, which I find unlikely. I don't think he's going to fall to us. But if he does, I think JD has to pull the plug, as if that talent comes all the way down to pick 10, you have to pull the plug on him personally. At the end of the day, like I said, you got to have a good offensive line, but you also got to make plays. My fear, though, is like if we draft an Odunze, I feel like we're not going to target any wide receiver in free agency. We're very, what would be the word? Stubborn when it comes to signing players after we draft. Oh, we have like when perfect example when Aaron Rodgers went down. We have our quarterback in Zach Wilson. We're not trading, but we're not trading a 7th-round pick for Josh Dobbs, who revealed his true colors after a few games with the Vikings, but had flashes. Oh no, we're not doing that. Mel Kiper called them the Three Musketeers. Yeah, they're great. I've heard that from Mel Kiper before. That big three is very solid, and then obviously you have some talent in the later rounds. Xavier Leglet, a Donnie Mitchell. Who else? Brian Thomas Jr. is probably gonna go in the first round, but what's his name? Oh God, help me! The guy out of Georgia. Oh, Lad McConkey. That's who it is. Lad McConkey. He had a great Senior Bowl. Great. He had a great workout in Mobile. Jeremy from Jets Chaos was talking about it on the show. He looked great out in Mobile. So did so many players have a great Senior Bowl and then they start rising up draft boards. Like look at Fuaga. Oh, I mean we also have to keep in mind though. It's only February. Like we haven't had the combine yet. We have to realize that we haven't had the combine yet. This draft season is literally just getting started. That's what I feel like. That's what Jets fans are struggling to realize. Wait, you know who's rising fast? Brian Thomas Jr. Yeah, it's looking like he's probably gonna go in the first round. That's what it's looking like, first round for Brian Thomas Jr. Like in the 20s type of range. Very talented wide receiver at LSU. I think he's great. He shot up 10 spots to 11 on Mel's board. Yeah. He just had a great overall year. Great pass catcher. I think he's another big guy too. Let's see how tall he is. 6'4". Yeah, he's big. Great wide receiver. Solid pass catcher. Him and Neighbors, that duo at LSU. Whew. NY Jets super fan. McConkey is nice, but we won't be able to get him unless we make a big trade. Yeah, I don't see him coming to the Jets. I think he's just a nice overall player. Yeah, Wild Wave 6'4", 205 pounds. Brian Thomas Jr. Yeah, crazy. McConkey, yeah, I said that already. He's gonna go in the second round, but not even just for the Jets. Whatever team gets him, they're gonna be. That guy can play. I think this wide receiver class. I think this draft class period, you can find depth at any position in any round. Personally, especially this class. I think this class is a very, very talented class, and I think that the Jets need a lot of position. That they need to address a lot of needs in this draft. I think we're gonna take a swing on a defensive tackle on day 3. I think we definitely do that. 100% swing in maybe a guy on day 3. Why not? It can't hurt. Also swing at maybe a safety in the later rounds. We need the running back, like I mentioned. I don't know if I think they can. Maybe that's potential in the 7th round, 6th, 7th round, someone like that, someone who we can kind of just like plug and play, and then obviously still bring in a veteran guy to kind of mentor. Well, Brees is just crazy, like someone who can maybe help Abandaconda and let's say Carson Steele, Blake Corum, someone of that nature. But I think like a lot of positions, defensive tackles. Nania was saying it earlier. Al Woods now most likely going to retire. That's a huge loss for this team. I know he didn't stay healthy, but a big loss. Wave, Connor. If you give JD an extension of, if he wins a playoff game, how long? 4 years. If he wins a playoff game. If he wins a playoff game, I still can't guarantee you. It depends who we beat. Or no, depends who we lose to in the second round. If they're like a legit team, probably 4 years. But if they're a team that just snuck into the playoffs and we just like blew it to wave to, I can't really answer your question because it depends how we go out. If we go down fighting, lose a tough game against, let's say, the Chiefs, maybe or the I don't know. I it's hard to do that right now because I don't know like which team we'd play. Hopefully we can re-sign Solomon and Jefferson. Yeah, Solomon needs to come back. Jefferson should come back, but I think Jefferson, Thomas, 100% because he's not as much money as these other guys are. I mean, you can get him for around $4 million. That's why I think the Jets need to target him. Need to re-sign him. Obviously, you target him because he was just on the team, and we've seen how he played. Well, what was I saying there? We need to target to bring him back. That's what I was trying to get. Guys, pin comment in the chat if you guys would like to call into the show. Love to hear what you guys have to say. Also, submit your questions in the chat. Again, like I said when the stream started, some of you who weren't here when it started, go show number 3 on the day for me. Record for NY Flight Jets talk so far. First show was 8 a.m. Eastern time with the Jets legend Wesley Walker. Recommend go checking these out after you are done watching this show. Also 2 p.m. I was joined by Michael Nania of the Jets X Factor. 2 great shows. Definitely recommend checking them out when you're done watching this. NY Jets Superfan. JD has so much work to do. We need to free up money and sign safeties, defensive tackles, offensive linemen, and wide receivers. Yeah. You also forgot to mention a veteran running back, a backup quarterback, a tight end 3 if we end up cutting Uzama. A tight end 3, I feel like. Take that out of the equation. Tight end 3, I feel like we can use like a Zach Kuntz, Kenny Yeboah type of guy who can kind of just put there on the depth chart but doesn't really get used. Yeah, yes, LOI. I feel like we wouldn't. They honestly, I think they might be a healthy scratch if it was one of them every game. Personally, because I think Ruckert is obviously probably going to be this tight end two, the tight end two role that Conklin was, and then Conklin is probably going to take the jump. Well, he was playing like a tight end. He's been playing like a tight end one, but technically Uzama was the tight end one, and then he got hurt. Obviously, Uzama. So I feel like I feel like Conklin's gonna have a bigger role on this team next year, and I think Ruckert will have a huge jump. Can you guys hear me better like this or like this? I'm just trying to see what's easier because it doesn't matter to me, but I want to see what you guys can hear me like this. It would probably be like this or like this. Let me know. And he needs to trade Zach Wilson, hopefully somebody. But I think people will put an offer in for Zach Wilson. I just don't think there's no way we can get I think at best it's a 6th round pick. I don't think we can get a 5th for him. And why Jet Superfan this way are you talking about? I think he's the other way, so I think that's this way. Alright. Next question, Wave. Alright, yep. Alright, good. I'm gonna leave it this way then. Alright, there we go. Truth to be told, 2025 is the year that will contend if JD plays his cards right. 2024, he has to show improvement by winning the division and competing. Yeah. 2025. Well, I don't see him. I think I agree with that. I think if we win the division, he has to stay personally, unless we just are a no-show round 1 of the playoffs. Well, we round 1 or whatever it is, the winning the division stuff. Unless we're a no-show, I personally see him coming back if we win the division. And then 2025 will probably be Rodgers' last year with this team, at least I believe so. So then that would be the year that everything's on the line, and this is our last chance to win with Rodgers, most likely, unless he just comes back for the 30. When I say 2025, I mean the Super Bowl. Yeah, I think I feel like if this team over their tenure with Rodgers, which will probably go through 2020, will at least go through 2025. I feel like if we don't at least make a conference game, we don't make a conference game in these next 2 years, I think it's really bad. You mentioned Super Bowl. I don't think Super Bowl's really. I think there's a chance that it happens, but I don't think it's 100% realistic. I think a conference game is way more realistic than a Super Bowl. Personally, I think this team can. Everyone says next year's the year. Personally, I think 2025 is the year we make a run. Aaron Rodgers. Well, technically, he was here last year, but he wasn't playing. He has 1 full year down in New York playing. He kind of gets used to that offense as he ran the offense for a grand total of 4 plays. Wild Wave, that's why I said 2025. Yeah, I think 2025 is definitely the year where it's a make or break year. 100% agree with Wave on that one. 2024, I think we need to at least win 1 playoff game in order for these guys to come back. I can't see us contending for a Super Bowl or the conference right now, but I think these guys need to win 1 game in order to return for that 2025 crucial year. That really makes or breaks. I don't want to use this tenure with Rodgers. I feel like tenure is the word to use. What was I saying? Dynasty. We haven't made the playoffs in 13 years. We're anything but a dynasty. I'm thinking. Totally agree with Wave on that one. Guys, if you're just joining, I'm gonna wrap up in a little. Earlier show today, 8 a.m. Eastern Time, Wesley Walker. 2 p.m. Eastern Time, I was joined by Michael Nania. So this is show number 3. Some of your final questions, and if you guys would like to call in, final call. Take 1 or 2 more questions, then I'm gonna hop off. Hope you guys, and then I hope you guys will. I hope you guys have a great rest of your. It's Monday. I'm off from school, so I'm losing track of the days. Monday night. But still going back. I know we touched on it a little, but 2025 is 100% the make or break year, where either this team thrives and true colors are revealed that Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh can win if they have competent quarterback play, where the true colors are shown that no, even with competent quarterback play, these guys cannot compete. And they're not NFL level coaches / GMs. And this is also a make or break year for Douglas and Saleh specifically, because keep in mind, you're mentioning 2025, but in 2025, there's a chance that we have a new head coach and GM, a whole new regime. There's a chance that happens. So if Rodgers is here in 2025, I don't see him. It's the end of his career. I don't think he's gonna want to relearn the whole offense just for 1 year. Have a new head coach, have a new general manager, restart again. It's literally like a 4-year cycle with the Jets where they go, okay, a 2 to 4 year cycle actually. Okay, yep. All right, he sucks, out. Okay, he sucks, also out. And it's literally like a carousel. It's okay, who's up next? Okay, get your 2 4 years in. Okay, out. 2 4 years. Okay, out. We have not had a head coach in the longest time. I haven't been alive at least, and probably way before I was alive, that the Jets have had a head coach and GM that stayed with this team consistently for a long time. And when I say long time, I say like 6 to 8 plus years. 6 to 8 and above and more years. Leave you guys with that. Thank you for watching. As always, JETS, 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 Jets.